It's Onoja Simeon, and this is Honey Drops from the Sages, the unveiling of the deep thoughts behind some of Africa's finest proverbs.
This week's video is a bit special because while I was trying to promote last week's video, I just couldn't look or think beyond the flood of events, voices, and opinions surrounding the gruesome murder of George Floyd by the very person who should protect him from all harm. And I saw the street protests and those beautiful scenes where officers would put down their weapons and join in the protests. I listened to some very passionate speeches by people like Tamika Mallory, Stephen Jackson. I listened to that emotional song by Kidron Bryant. I saw people like Kelly Rowland and CNN's Blue Baldwin cry. I saw some people display their ignorance when they said blacks should go to Africa. And I saw a tweet by a president saying, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. And trying to process all of this information reminded me of an African proverb that says, when there's a fire outbreak in a market, people react in different ways, but common sense react in one way. But looking at this graphic image of a human being helplessly begging for his life under the choking knee of a fellow human, I couldn't help but wonder what single way would common sense react given this circumstance. And I began to look at the pictures and the videos
From the streets and the scenes of the protests.
I noticed something. I realized that most of those reactions were born from the fundamental human attribute we call empathy. And by empathy, I'm talking about that reflex that makes you want to look through the eyes of George Floyd's 6-year-old daughter at the grin on the face of Derek Chauvin as he smothers the life out of a fellow human, and that with his hand in his pocket. By empathy, I'm talking about the common sense that simply tries to listen through the ears of George Floyd to the silence of those officers who, beyond turning a deaf ear to his cry for survival, fought off bystanders and other people who wanted to help. By common sense, I'm talking about the fundamental humanity that tries to imagine what must have been going through the mind of George Floyd at that point, where he settles for death, knowing that the color of his skin, rather than the quality of his person, may have played a major role in this death sentence. And so, beyond these conversations we're having around racism, I believe we should also be talking about humanity. I believe we should be talking about humanity because there's no way at that point when George was crying for his life and begging for his life, he was not trying to talk to a black or a white or a brown man. He was simply trying to touch the humanity in a fellow human. We should be talking about humanity because I cannot imagine any human being who would watch that video till the end. And by the end, I'm talking about that point where 3 minutes after the guy had stopped breathing, a human being was still driving his knees into the neck of another human. I say this because the only reason why any human, black, white, or brown, would watch that video till the end and start digging into George's history and start trying to excuse Derek's inhumanity cannot by any means be traced to the pure, unadulterated nature of man. It is an indication of the loss of our basic human instincts, the loss of our humanity to knowledge and other ideas that have given birth to this crazy in-group, out-group mentality that is presently burning down whatever is left of our fabric of humanity. Experiments have shown that infants between the ages of 8 to 15 months showed genuine empathy when they were made to believe that their mothers and other babies were in distress. And I would like to look beyond the argument as to whether that reaction by the babies was as a result of the cognitive or the affective components or elements of empathy. It only shows that all humans are born with the capacity to feel the pain of another. So, this, for me, is a wake-up call for all humans to rise against any structure, system, or behavior that makes a human being believe that he would choke a fellow human to death in broad daylight while being filmed and get away with it. And like most issues of life, all we really need is common sense. And this can be better appreciated by realizing that although not as common sense is simply good judgment. It is the ability to just allow your natural human instinct take control of your actions rather than filtering everything through knowledge and ideologies. In the case of the burning fire described in the proverb, common sense simply runs for safety, but knowledge starts thinking about the fire triangle and thinking of how to eliminate one of the three elements of fire, or even go as far as worrying about how life would continue when this fire raises our means of livelihood. I don't know about you, but I've seen people endure abusive marriages to the point of death simply because rather than obeying the common sense that runs for their life, they would start considering the stigma that some societies associate with divorce. So, I guess what this proverb is saying is that sometimes it is just okay to be human enough to approach challenges from the place of common sense and only proceed to the complications of knowledge and ideology when common sense fails. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'm sure you got some value out of it.
And please do not forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you don't miss our next quest into the wise world of African proverbs.